Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well, and welcome back to Voicenotes with jordantheresa. Today, we have such an exciting guest. Michelle, introduce yourself, explain to everyone what you do, what you're about.
Well, my name is Michelle DeSwarte. I am a stand-up comedian and a writer and an actor and a producer.
She's lived 1,000 lives, because I was explaining to Michelle that I was looking at her Wikipedia to prepare, as I do, and I was like, she's been a model, she acts, she does everything, and I find it so admiring, especially the stand-up comedy, because again, I was saying to Michelle earlier that my biggest fear is stand-up comedy. Whenever I watch Drag Race and they have the stand-up comedy challenge, I freak out because I cannot imagine anything more scary. So I really, really do admire you. But yeah, what are you up to today? What are you up to this weekend? What are you doing right now?
Well, at the moment, I'm just in the finishing up an edit of a TV show that I wrote and starred in and produced for BBC Two.
Oh my God! What's the TV show about?
It's called Spent, and it is about, I guess, like the hangover from overspending.
Oh,
yeah. From overspending, and it's like, you know, loosely based on my own experience, because after modelling, although I started stand-up at like 30, I still had some really bad spending habits, and I didn't have really the money to back it up. And I've had this like these really weird, I guess just things that I was into, like really expensive face creams and this and that, but like I couldn't pay my rent, but I'd spend loads of money on like Botox and fillers, and like I wanted a nice handbag, but you know, I had like, if I had like $500 in my account, I'd be like, I'm gonna spend 300 of it on this cashmere jumper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a comedy show about that, really.
I love that. I love the idea of like exploring hangovers unrelated to alcohol, because something that I've experienced recently is I had a bit of an emotional hangover where I told my mum something quite personal to me, and then the next day I was like, why did I do that? I'm so embarrassed. Like all of this, and you know, it's like those hangovers which have no relation to alcohol whatsoever. Yeah. But it's that same horrible sinking feeling.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because then the result would be going to drink.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, why do you overdrink? You overdrink because you're feeling like overwhelmed in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's like a social situation that you're like is like firing up your nervous system in some way, and you don't feel comfortable in that social setting, and so you drink more than you normally would. Yeah, you know. So yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Oh my God, that's so interesting. What has it been like? Because have you written your own shows before and like produced and acted in your own shows before then?
I've done shorts. Like I've like produced and written my own short films and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God, so is it like a completely different experience, or were you like feeling really like confident in it?
No, of course not. No. I was confident in the writing process, because I've been doing stand-up for over a decade now. So, you know, that's something that I was used to, like writing comedy, and I know the sort of transition from writing something on paper and then performing. But no, it was the first time. It was the first time, and also a first time writing and producing a TV show, and there's a lot of that language that I don't know. I left school quite early. I didn't do any GCSEs, and even though I've worked in the arts for a long time, there's like a lot of lingo that is sort of, you don't know what people are talking about, you know, and so you have to kind of assert yourself and make sure that people are really transparent with you, so you can get your sort of creative idea across.
No, I feel you. Because I obviously like write essays technically every week, that's a bit dramatic. I like once every 2 months, once or twice a month, I write like essays for all of my videos, and I read a lot of dissertations and stuff. And because I didn't go to university, there's like this element of like, I don't know what anyone is talking about. And then I remember I was like, for a while I felt so stupid, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. All of my peers seem way more educated than I am. And I remember someone said, they were like, you basically write a dissertation once a month.
You
like,
do.
Cut yourself some
and
slack.
Do you know what? This is why, like, how I discovered you was, because when did you start doing those?
I started doing video essays. It was just before lockdown, so 4 years ago now, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So I discovered you, about then, like, you're pretty early into it. And I couldn't, as I was just saying before we, got the cameras rolling, is I couldn't believe like this whole new world of journalism, because I'm 43. How old are you?
I'm 25.
25, right? So there's nearly 20 years between us.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think I was researching something just on YouTube, and I was clicking and clicking and clicking. And then I stumbled upon Khadijah's essays and then yours. And I was like, what is this whole new world? And as someone who's dyslexic, I was like, oh my, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, this is something that I can digest in a way that makes sense to me. So for me, I was like, it's funny that you're like, oh, I feel like I didn't go to university, but I was like, finally.
Someone that didn't go to university.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was like, finally there's something digestible and in a way that I can, retain it and understand it. And I was so excited.
Oh my God, thank you.
I was so excited. And also because you were talking about, like how fashions roll around every 20 years, pretty much, or like now a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But so you were talking about stuff that was in fashion for you as a young person. And I was like, as it was for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ever, because I feel like, are you talking about like the one where I was talking about like trends of the 2010s? Was it?
No, I think it was a little before them. But I mean, obviously I was like a full adult for that. But I think you was talking about just like, one of the ones that stand out in my mind so much was the one about bimbos. And just like, I was a young person. I was the same age as you was, speaking about it coming around again, but like in celebration, and so I absolutely loved it. So it's just funny that you're like, I didn't go to university, and you're like questioning yourself, because I was like, wow, what an eloquent, like I was just like, what an eloquent young person who's just like saying all of these things that I felt the first time around and couldn't put it into words.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're so
Michelle.
welcome.
Did you wear Juicy Couture tracksuits back in the day?
Yeah.
Back
in the day. Still wearing them now.
I really want to get like one of the old like proper because my mum used to wear them, and I remember when I was like 6 years old, my mum used to take us to the like the kids' days at the summer camp at our local gym, and she used to take us to the summer camp and put us in our little Juicy Couture tracksuits. Me and my sister, we had matching tracksuits, and she had her tracksuit as well.
It sounds very chic.
It was very, very chic, like dropping us off in the range. Like she was a yummy mummy. It was yummy mummy core for sure. So the way that we start out with our episodes is we do TV show we're watching, book we're reading, song we're listening to. So is there a TV show, or it can be a movie, that you are watching or have watched recently?
I have just literally last night finished binged watched in 2 days the Love is Blind season.
So have I. I literally finished it yesterday.
Did you? Me too.
Yes.
I was like, I need to power through this so I can just get to the reunion.
Yeah.
And I was like,
have you watched the reunion?
Yes.
Oh my! I wasn't sure if I liked the reunion.
Well, the reunion wasn't. Well, this is the thing, because as the seasons go on, people know what it's about. So I think in the early seasons, everyone did get to the altar and they made their decision whether they wanted to marry the person that, they had met in the pods without seeing them. And that's when they made their decision. But now we're on like, what is it, season 6?
Season 6. I think around that.
So now there were only 2 couples that actually got to the altar, which kind of changes the whole, it kind of changes what the reunion will be, because there's not such a big catch-up. People made up their minds way before they got to the altar. So I guess there's less animosity and things to go over. So they've buffed it up by bringing people back from other seasons. Yeah,
it's so strange, because I felt like it was borderlining on a little bit. I liked the fact that they started talking about things that happened online, like when Trevor, who had a girlfriend when he went in there, when they confronted him.
Oh my God, I haven't spoken to anyone about this, so like, don't get me started. But like Trevor, I was like, I don't even know. I mean, look, I am quick to call everyone who's moving Buki a narcissist.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that is the case. Mm-hmm. But what is up?
It's crazy. And the thing is that, first of all, men will always make you look like fools, because 2 podcast episodes ago, I was going, Trevor, meow, like talking about how hot he is.
Yeah.
Now I look like a fool.
So should we, if people haven't seen the show, the recap is Trevor was one of the contestants, I guess.
Yeah. And you all have to be single because you're all going there to get married.
Yes. Yeah. And he proposed to this lady and was just like, I'm totally in love with you. And she didn't pick him. She picked someone else. But I think all the viewers were like, oh my God, Trevor, how could, like, he must be so brokenhearted and he's such a lovely guy and he seems so sincere and so endearing. And then it turned out on the reunion, actually what we found out was Trevor had been texting his girlfriend before he went in, calling her pumpkin, saying that he loved her and that he just needed to pretend, but like, for why? And he couldn't give an answer. But at least he went on. And he was quite like, I don't have an answer for why I did that. Can I go now? You think he was drunk? He clearly had a couple of drinks.
It gave me the ick. Like, I was like, all of a sudden...
If that don't give you the ick, I don't know what would.
I was like, all of a sudden, him sat there being like, I don't know. I was like, this is the most unattractive man I've ever perceived. And it's so crazy. And you know what? I actually read something. It was probably a TikTok. I read something. I watched it on TikTok. Where someone mentioned something really interesting where with
It's like me when I see your essays. I really digested this really intense essay. Did you read it? Listened, watched.
So it's one and the same. And someone said that the way the Love is Blind casting works is obviously they go to different cities in the States, and a lot of the time the women that they approach or the women that approach them, they are, you know, really, really wanting to get married. And then the men, more often than not, they get approached by this glitzy reality show and they're like, do you want to come on Love is Blind? They've already seen the success. They've seen that the people that go on the show get millions of followers. Even when they're perceived quite badly, there's still like an element of success there. So I think, unfortunately, it just regardless of the reality show itself's intentions, it's always going to draw in people with bad intentions. And I think it's a shame because I really do think that a lot of the women that go on the show really want to get married. And it's a shame because I think it's like, yeah, sure, it's just a show, but also these women who often get fucked over, they have real feelings. They really want to get married. And then there's men that just go on it because they want a blue check mark on Instagram.
Do you think it's that difference between like, because I feel like for the women on the show, it seems to be, if it doesn't work out, more of a humiliating process because they've been so vulnerable. But I don't know if that's just because I have more empathy with the women because I'm the same gender. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah.
And what that difference is between like wanting attention and wanting fame. Do you know what I mean? And then like wanting love.
Yeah.
Like,
it's tricky because I definitely feel you on the empathizing with your own gender because I watch it with my boyfriend. Great perspective because he's very like logical and rational, and like I can't remember what it was, but I remember someone was dogging someone out of the aisle. I think might have been Zainab from last season, and she was like ripping into Cole at the aisle, and I was like, yeah, get him, and then Len was like, Jordan, this is actually quite mean, and I was like, really? But sometimes you need that balance for someone to be like, look, this is a little bit mean, but I always still back my girls. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I ate it up, and I think because I've been doing something that has been quite like emotionally and mentally taxing, and also takes a lot of like diplomacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I just want to watch something that is absolutely,
mindless.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I just want to like not think.
Yeah, I do sometimes find it though a bit, and I think I might have Love is Blind PTSD because I made a video about it like 2 years ago and I watched nothing but Love is Blind for a month, and it was truly an experience that shaped the person that I am today.
Yeah, because it was like lockdown as well.
Yeah,
do you remember? Like
yeah.
it was like that when that show like came out like that's when I got into it. Was lockdown, and I just ate it up.
Yeah, and so I have to take it in small doses now, but I think this season has been, I think it's been pretty special because I think it's just like, I find Chelsea and Jimmy's dynamic to be fascinating. I explained it a couple of episodes ago, but just to give a quick spark notes, Jimmy chose Chelsea over another girl. Chelsea also chose Jimmy over another guy. And basically they have a very sort of quite fraught, toxic relationship because Jimmy thinks that she slightly lied about the way that she looked. And then Chelsea is also really insecure.
I find her extremely manipulative.
Same.
Like, extremely manipulative. Like, the red flags are off, going, like, pyong, 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 pyong. Like, the way that she always bounces things and said, but you did that too, and never really addresses what it is that he's saying and how it makes him feel. And the crying and everything has a massive emotional reaction for her that seems to still the stage. So it's like, I'm crying, or I feel sick, or I'm sweating. It's always like, look at this effect that it's having on me that takes away from what it is that either she's done or what the other person's saying that they feel like.
So
find it very
true.
manipulative.
I think someone...
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan of her at all. And usually I root for people like her.
And even when they brought up on the reunion, they was like, you know, you said that you look like Megan Fox, which is, I thought as well, a very... It was a manipulative thing to do in the pods because it's called Love is Blind. So
I hate
he
when people
always
don't
had
stick to the
that in
experiment.
his mind.
Yeah.
He always had that in his mind, and she knew that. You know, like that was a crumb out there. And also to say you look like Megan Fox is like, if you do, then clearly that is going to sway the opinion because the whole premise of the show is the person doesn't see what you look like. Now, when they pulled her up about it in the reunion... Listen, I just watched it last night, so don't get me started. So when they pulled her up about it in the reunion, rather than address it, she said, I'm really proud with how I handled the backlash from it. She said, I'm really proud of me. I've took it in good humour, and I'm really proud of the way that I handled that. That was it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. See, I just never seen someone who, in their complete victim complex of believing that they are being mistreated poorly, in turn mistreats their partner poorly. Her thinking she's the victim turns her partner into the victim because she's so manipulative.
I have had so many interactions with white women, especially in work situations where that is the thread throughout, and you become so aware of what's happening that you kind of get this spidey sense, and you're like, oh,
yeah, switching on the water.
That is a skill set.
Yeah, and I also hated the way that they all of the white women in the show treated AD. It made me feel so uncomfortable.
Oh, the sexualization,
fetishization,
and the fetishes of her, and she took it in. She handled it like someone who has experience with handling that.
Yeah. I think
unfortunately,
it was such a shame.
Unfortunately,
I think
she had to take it with grace. But what I did appreciate was that Lauren on the Zoom brought it up again and was like, I just want to apologise. Yeah. Now we have the space to properly again and reiterate that I mean, also for her own benefit, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so uncomfortable to watch. And I just remember thinking like, oh.
Imagine speaking about someone's body like that.
In front of them,
and that's another thing about Chelsea. What she did in that scenario, where she was like, anyway. Listen, moving swiftly on because otherwise this will just take up all my time.
Like, First of all, Jimmy, out of pocket for you to even say something like that, period, let alone be engaged and say that. Let alone say that to the person you are engaged to. And then the person you're engaged to be like, ha, 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 like play the cool girl with it. Oh my God.
But part of this started off with her saying that she looked like Megan Fox because of the premise of the show. Mm-hmm. So there was this underlying, I think, insecurity from her about that was never addressed.
Yeah.
And it also stems from why she felt the need to say that.
Yeah.
Because she knew who she was in competition with Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And that was
Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah, who does actually look a lot
Who actually looks like Megan Fox.
See, the thing is, I do think she looks like a young Megan Fox, Chelsea. But, like, one thing about men is they are dumb. If you tell a man, I look like Megan Fox, he's going to think of Megan Fox's most recent Instagram post or something.
No, he's going to think, you look like Megan Fox. Not kind of similar to, not in certain lights, not at certain angles. Mm-hmm. That he has no picture in his mind. Yeah. Because you're in a pod.
Yeah.
He can't see you. Mm-hmm. So that's what he's thinking.
Yeah. So true. And
anyway, very juicy.
What book? Are you reading a book at the moment?
Can I tell you? No.
Fair enough. Yeah. I've only started,
I haven't. I started, I can never say her name properly. Miriam Margolis.
Did you see what she said the other day in an interview? She
yes,
was like,
Harry Potter fans need to grow up. I thought it was very funny. So I read her first book and I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then my cousin for my birthday bought me her latest book and I started reading it. And I'm probably like 3 chapters in. And I have been for about 5 months. but I have been making a TV show in my defense.
You've been busy. No, I was in a reading slump for probably my entire life. And then a few weeks ago, I got diagnosed with ADHD and I got put on Ritalin for it. Oh, I'm living life right now.
Yeah.
And I have been able to actually read properly as God intended. I'm
really?
reading for the first time. And I read a book in 3 days and I was
really?
I feel so powerful. This is so amazing. I was like, the beauty of literature.
I got diagnosed with, I got assessed for, when I was about 6 for dyslexia, very young. And then later in life, I got diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh my God, ADHD Twitter.
Yes. And it is, it's definitely when
it's
you...
tough out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. And it's my biggest pet peeve when someone's like... And I guess people can feel about their ADHD however they want to. But when I see people ADHD is my superpower. And I'm like, I just find my ADHD annoying.
Well, if you don't have the tools to channel it, then I mean, I used to feel like that about being dyslexic. I used to think I can't do anything. I just was and then later in life, I realised that I have a visual brain in a way that other people don't. So it comes with its benefits and it comes with its, powers. Yeah. But only if you can channel them. And sometimes you need to be shown how to do that. Yeah. Or be in an environment where you can, you know? So for me, I was lucky that I got to, work in the arts. But had that not been the case, then I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Oh my God,
so
that's so interesting.
How would you know it's a superpower?
Yeah, so true. So true. So I'm feeling so super bookworm right now.
She's read.
I'm well read. I read on the tube now.
Are you like that? Oh, you sheeple with your AirPods in.
Yeah,
look at me.
Yeah.
I was like that a month ago. I got my phone stolen and there was a couple of days where I didn't have a phone and so I was forced to read on the train and I would sit there on my high horse looking at everyone else just going, oh my God, look at everyone on their phones. Wow. But look at me.
I would go
yeah.
Ooh, you don't know what I'm reading.
Saucy, juicy, captivating. Carry on listening to your podcast.
Oh my God. I've been loving reading right now. And I just finished Dolly Alderton, Good Material, which I thought was so, so good. It's about a stand-up comedian who gets broken up with. And I just thought it was genius because I've been on the receiving end of a breakup, but I've never felt like I've had the rug pulled from under me in a breakup. Every breakup I've been through, I'm like, well, I saw this coming. Do you know what I mean? So it's so interesting to read the perspective of this guy who felt like he had the rug completely pulled from under him, and then being able to read his girlfriend's perspective, I felt like I related to it as well. Like having to dump someone is like the worst human experience possible, I feel like.
I mean, no, but I can understand, yes.
It's awful because I remember I dumped my boyfriend during the first lockdown, and we've lived for 3 years, and it was literally the worst thing I ever, because I broke up with him over the phone because I couldn't see him because we were in lockdown.
That's called a touch.
What's that?
That's like...
No!
That's like an old school term, babes, for very fucking lucky. When the planets are aligned in a weird, twisted kind of way. Yes, there's a pandemic, and obviously that is terrible, but also... Unfortunately, I can't do this in person, but I'd really love to. But, oh, sorry, I've got bad connection.
And I remember, like, my mum was like, that was harsh. And I was like, did you want me to wait for 4 months until we're allowed out to then break up with him? That's worse, if anything. But yeah, I just loved reading the book. It was really, really funny. One of my favourite parts of the book was when... the guy's writing, like, I go through my phone and I listen back to all my old voice notes. So weird that I only like to listen to my own voice notes. I was like, right, this feels really direct because I always listen to my own voice notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My podcast is literally called Voice Notes. Hello.
Yeah. I mean, you send a voice note and then you listen to it back just to check.
Yeah.
You are indeed a dickhead.
Also
confirmed.
Also, POV, I'm the person listening to the voice note for the first time. And if you're really
well,
active,
yes. You've just said it. You know what you said. But you're like, but how would it be received?
Yeah. And then if you're like in a really active conversation and then they're typing at the same time you're listening back, you get like the full POV.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so immersive.
It is.
And
if you want to be immersed in your own butthole, yes.
Oh my God, my therapist said the other day, I was like, I just feel like I bring like charisma to rooms where there's no charisma. And he was like, a rare moment of modesty from you.
Oh, wow.
Like, right, he read me. Okay.
Wow, you read yourself.
I did.
Yes, I mean, I think it would be time to get a new therapist if they didn't pull you up on that.
No, completely.
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes I just feel like I bring charisma into a room when there's no charisma there sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
He's like looking around the room, looking at you, looking at the room, looking at you, and he's like, no.
He was like, a rare moment of modesty from you. And I was really laughing about it. And then he said to me, and then I was telling my friend about it, and I was like, sometimes I just feel like my therapist just loves me because I have such high self-esteem. And he's like, of course you think you're your therapist's favourite client. And I was like, I actually am the problem.
I'll tell you what, though, the problem is with that is that you can start trying to entertain your therapist, and it can sort of...
So true.
It can sort of get in the way in what you're meant to be, which is like not thinking about how you're being perceived and actually get through some of the work. So, you know, it can waste your money sometimes.
So true.
Do you know what I mean? Because then you're going in there and you're like, I need to give them funny stories and make it entertaining for them, because I feel like my worth is by me being entertaining. And it isn't, because you're paying this person to talk to him.
That's so
Do you know what I mean?
true. Yeah. Oh my God, I thought about it in a completely different way.
Yeah, you're like, I'm electric. He's laughing, or they're laughing. I'm killing it. I crushed this gig.
Because also when I had my ADHD assessment, when I was like, he's going to be a tough nut to crack, this doctor.
Yeah, because you're trying to charm him.
I'm trying to make him laugh, and then I started.
You want him to like you.
Yeah, and I was like, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
ha.
but the issue with that is if you want him to like you, then you're not going to be being you, you know, like really telling them what's going on, which is like the sides of yourself that you don't like.
Oh my God, that's so true.
I mean, I've been in therapy for bloody years, so I've done all of those things where I was just like, ha. I'm like, is this on? Anyway, so the year was 1992. I was in a bike shed in Croydon. It was raining. It was mental. The smell of Lynx Africa was in the air, and I was chatting to this guy called Darren. Hey. Like,
oh my gosh, I literally never ever thought about it like that before, but it's so true, especially because when you go into therapy, I feel like you have low self-esteem, and then when it starts tinkering back up, but it's like, I guess it must be such a up and down thing. I need to level myself out. My self-esteem's gone too high, and now I'm worried about keeping my therapist entertained. And telling him about my problem.
Well, it's an avoidant tactic, isn't it? Because then you don't really have to dig deep, and you can keep everything on quite surface level and be like, I'm doing really well in therapy because I leave feeling good.
Oh, this camera's going to be the death of me. If it got cut off, I'm just saying Michelle was truly praising me, telling me I'm the funniest person she's ever met.
I said you truly bring charisma and charm into every room.
She's corroborating my own statement on my therapist statement. That's
your own statement. That you said, you just told me, to me.
I know. This is the thing, my brain goes at genuinely 1,000,000 miles per hour. I never remember what I've said 5 minutes ago.
Which is convenient when you're talking shit like that. Do you know what I mean?
Especially like the camera keeps me accountable. Like, cause I have to watch all the episodes back. People often say to me, they're like, oh God, you must hate that. And I'm like, no, I get to find out what different things about myself. I was like, I love the sound of my own voice. Okay, song you're listening to.
Song that I'm listening to. Oh, I've been listening to loads. I've been listening to so much music at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, but like from just all different type. Like I've been listening to like loads of like 90s dancehall, loads of 70s funk, like early noughties R&B. And then some like modern day tunes today that the kids listen to. So I've been listening to a bit of everything. It'd be hard to cherry pick one song that I've had on repeat at the moment, because I think I've just been like, I've just had like a bit of an insatiable appetite for music. But I feel like not even really letting the songs play through. Do you know what I mean? Just to sort of try and steer my mood.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing quite a bit of work at trying to like keep level-headed. You know what I mean? So I can't pick one. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, don't apologise. Absolutely fine. Do you have like all of your songs just in like the liked playlist?
Yeah.
I still haven't made like separate playlists.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
anything.
you know what song I've been listening to quite a lot just recently is a Stevie Nicks tune called The Edge of 17.
I love that song.
Do you love it?
Of course I love that song.
It's such a good song, isn't it?
So good.
Yes, I've been listening to that on repeat.
Have you seen that? It's this clip that's going viral on TikTok right now, and it's like a clip from Family Guy. Usually I'm not really a Family Guy kind of girl, but there was like this clip when he's like at a Stevie Nicks concert, and he's like, when the edge of 17 comes on move, I'm going to need some twirling room.
Really? Oh, that's so good.
And it's so accurate as well. It's like, I truly do need some twirling room when the edge of 17 comes on.
Exactly. Yeah. With your like little Coachella sort of fringe pashmina jobbing.
And Stevie Nicks is playing at BST festival.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm buzzing.
Amazing.
Songs I'm listening to, have been doing a video. I'm currently working on a video comparing the Priscilla biopic to the Elvis biopic.
Not comparable. I do not understand.
I haven't watched the Elvis one yet. I love
Watch
the
it.
Priscilla one.
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought it was fucking shit.
Really? Why?
I just was like, what is this? Like, there was nothing to get into. I was really disappointed.
Really?
With how surface level it was.
Ooh.
Yeah. I didn't feel like it really got into... I felt like it was... It felt like a Luna Del Rey... What's her name? Lana Del Rey video.
Luna Del Rey.
Luna Del Rey.
Luna Del
It
Rey.
felt like a music video.
Okay.
It felt... I was just like...
Really?
I felt shortchanged. I felt shortchanged because it took me... I didn't think I was going to love the Elvis biopic. I was just but I was on an aeroplane and I was like, well, let me watch it now. And I thought it was really good in giving, you know, I think especially when someone's like an icon like that, they don't want to show them in a bad light because you don't know what like their estate is going to say. They sort of have to approve a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it showed a lot of stuff that maybe
wasn't super palatable, maybe.
Exactly. And for her. Not that it needed to be, but just like she was a child as well. There was I felt like that was kind of skirted over, just like how young she was, and I don't know. I was like, what is this?
Really, I really, really liked it. I haven't watched Elvis yet. Like one thing that I read in like one of the reviews is that it's so different from Elvis because Elvis is a biopic. Meanwhile, Priscilla is based off of her memoir. So it really is through the lens of a child. And I think one thing that I do have my gripe with Sofia Coppola films is that they lack that sort of punch towards the conclusion. They are very one note. But also I appreciate the fact that it was all told from Priscilla's perspective. Priscilla was an executive producer on the film, and I think it sort of had that very girlish haze to it, where as an audience you're like, oh my God, like why have her parents let her go and live with this 25-year-old man? Like what the hell is going on?
You kind of want some nod to looking through the lens of today. And I feel like it was very much through the lens of the time, without that kind of acknowledgement of how it must have felt for it, regardless of things that were normalized at the time or things that, you know, I was kind of like, what the fuck is this? I was really like, what the fuck is this?
Oh
when it got to an end,
Wow,
felt like a music video to me.
It was Sofia Coppola has a way of making all of her films look so beautiful, even when the contents of them is quite horrific. But I've been listening to the soundtrack whilst I've been researching, trying to fully get myself in the headspace. And the soundtrack is so clever because the Elvis estate banned them from using any music. They wouldn't give them the rights to any of his music. So not only did they, and Sofia Coppola, she, you know...
But what is it? Isn't she the Elvis estate? I don't understand.
No, Priscilla isn't in charge of the estate. I know that the estate is in charge. I know that it ended up getting passed down to her granddaughter because her daughter died, but her daughter spoke out against the film and said that she didn't, before she died, said that she didn't think the film should be made. Her dad's being painted to be a monster. And I actually thought they painted him with a lot of leniency, actually.
Yeah.
Like a hell of a lot of leniency. And so the estate didn't let Priscilla, Sofia Coppola use any of the music. They said that the film was a money grab, and they were quite... there's a word for it. They were very like negative about the film coming out, which is why I feel like I'm really rooting for Priscilla and Sofia to be able to like tell that story, especially because it was so it was just so like negatively received by his estate. But they weren't allowed to use any of the music, so they got like really, really clever with it, and they found like from Elvis songs that they really wanted to use, they found the original samples which were public domain, and then re-recorded the original samples of the song. So it wasn't an Elvis song, but it sounded like an Elvis song.
Interesting.
And Elvis had like very good taste in music because they used a lot of his music, that they looked at his records that were in his home and all of this, and they found like a lot of gospel music, Hawaiian music, like this real range of music, and they featured a lot of the songs in the soundtrack.
So weird that you loved it that much, because I found it completely forgettable.
Really?
Yeah.
I was really hooked on the first half. I said the second half, like especially towards the last third, I found it really lacked that punch. But I think just because I didn't really know anything about the story.
Me and my friend watched it together. We watched it when I was in New York, and we were just like...
Really?
I was like, this is shit, innit? She was like, yeah, it's shit. I was like,
oh my God,
we've got to watch it to the end now. We were like, well, we're in it now.
Well, I'm going to... Well...
Can't watch the essay.
And to be fair, I have a feeling I'm not going to like Elvis. I watched the trailer and I was like, Baz Luhrmann has a very specific way of like making films that are so like invasive to all of your senses.
Yeah.
And I feel like going from watching Priscilla to watching that, I feel like I'm going to get whiplash.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I watched it on an airplane, and I always feel like, you know, when you watch a film on a plane, you can't really tell if it was good or not. Do you know what I mean? It's like... I feel like eating food when you're drunk, you know, you're just like, yeah, it's great. You don't really have much option, you know, you're like, well, I'm here.
The best film experiences I've had of watching films on planes.
Yeah.
I watched Babylon on the plane, which got really poorly received, and I thought it was great.
Listen, years ago, when I knew that aeroplanes, like, were no good place to really be able to give a true review of a film, so this is like over 20 years ago, Mariah Carey made this film called Glitter. And you don't know about
I've
it,
never
do you?
heard of this film.
Exactly. Because it was fucking trash, right?
What was it about?
I can't even, it was about a singer. I think it was about a singer, like, and it was Mariah, who was like a singer. It was like her bodyguard, her like Whitney Houston bodyguard, and it got absolutely, like, it tanked, right? It got terrible reviews, and I remember watching it on the aeroplane. I was going from London back to New York, and I was like, it got to the end, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. I was like, 5 out of 5, and I just thought, wow, I can't be trusted.
Did you
Something about the higher altitude or something.
Did you recommend it to someone and then have like a hangover about recommending it to someone?
Yes. This has happened to me so many times though. That and like when I sort of like realised like I don't have a very like refined palate. When I'd say to someone like, you've got to eat at this restaurant, it's really good, and then I'd sit there with someone, they'd just be like, this is fucking terrible.
This is how I feel when I recommend my friend a film and then I see that they've rated it on Letterboxd really low. I get so embarrassed. Do you know what Letterboxd is?
No, but also,
it's the best.
So also, wouldn't you just ask them what they thought of it?
Well, because sometimes I'll like say to my friend like, oh my God, you should watch this film. And I'll just text him and he's like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll watch it sometime. And then I never follow up on it. And then Letterboxd, which is this app where you can rate and review films, I follow all of my friends on there so I keep up with what they're watching.
See.
And I go on the app like every day and I'll be like, Babylon, 5 stars, so good. And then I was like, Jack, you have to watch this film. And then I just go on Letterboxd one day and it just says like Jack Edwards rated Babylon 3 stars. And I'm like,
3 stars isn't bad.
I know, but it's embarrassing for me.
Because you're like 5. But you know what because it's such a taste test, isn't it? It's just like, you do not rate my taste at all.
Yeah, like I texted him because he does book reviews on YouTube. I texted him, I was like, oh my God, Dolly Alderton, good material, so good. Like 4.5 out of 5. And he's like, oh really? I gave that a 2.5. I was like, we don't have the same taste in things and I'm just going to have to accept that.
Yeah, sometimes that is the case, you know. But I love getting into it with my friends about like, if I love something, glitter aside, Mariah Carey's Glitter aside, but I'm always interested into like, well, why? Yeah. You know, and then hearing why they loved it and like, or why they didn't. Yeah. You know, me and my best friends in the world, we never feel the same about a film until Saltburn. That was the first time she was like, I thought it was weird. I said, but what do you give it? And she went, yeah, 5 out of 5. And I was like, oh, cool. Because normally we watch films together, or I'll recommend a film and then she'll be like, I think it's shit. Or I'll watch a film and I'm like, I think it's shit. And she's like, it's amazing. Yeah.
But I guess that's the fun of it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, now we just accept that, like, we never like the same films.
Yeah.
You know?
Aww. And, okay, so let's get into it.
All right.
So, Michelle is a hilarious stand-up comedian. Not only am I a fan of your stand-up comedy, my mum is a huge fan of your Instagram reels. She sends them to me all the time.
Amazing.
And when I told her that I was having you on the podcast, she was extremely excited. And honestly, I just want to pick your brain about stand-up comedy because stand-up comedy is one of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
I can imagine you must get such a thrill out of it when like you're doing it well, but it's just, I just want to know like how you got into it, just basically everything, like how you got into it, why you got into it, why do you love it, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it is most people's, public speaking is, I think in the Western world, it's probably people's number one fear, isn't it, public speaking. But as a stand-up, you kind of don't have that. Or you sort of do, but like, I think with stand-up comedy, it's this weird thing where like, eventually you've been bad so many times in front of people, you stop caring, and then that is the thing that makes you good.
Oh,
it's kind of weird.
That's wise,
isn't it? But it is kind of like, it's like you'll have, you know, your first few gigs will go well, hopefully. And so you'll continue to do it and you'll just anticipate having a bad gig. And then when it finally happens, you're like, oh.
That wasn't that bad.
Well, no one cares more about me being shit than me.
So true.
No one cares.
Spotlighting is what it's called when you think that everyone's thinking about you.
Just like, no one is going to, I always used to like, I remember thinking like, yeah, no one's going to lie in bed tonight going, oh my God, Michelle was awful on stage. Only I will be doing that. Only me. Yeah. Only I will be doing that. And I I always like making jokes and stuff, and you know, that is like the way I'd break the tension in the house growing up, and trying to make my mum laugh, and you know, all of that stuff.
Trying to make a therapist laugh, all that.
Exactly. Yeah. Trying to make therapists laugh and all of that. So yeah, I thought I was a joker, but I don't think I was as funny as I thought I was. I remember when I did, like last year, I did live at the Apollo for BBC, and I had some of my school friends there, and like some of my older friends, and one of my mates turned round to one of my school friends and was like, "Was Michelle funny at school?" And she was like, "No."
Really?
I was like, "What?" I said, "I always thought I was cracking jokes." She was like, "No, you were rude, but like you weren't funny." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I've got those wires crossed." But yeah, stand-up's like, it's a great art form, man, because you really gotta work hard at it. So to get good.
And how long have you been doing it for now?
I would say 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but then think 13 years. I only did live at the Apollo last year, so it's a long time.
That's crazy that
of
you've done
gigging,
live at the Apollo.
But it's a long time of gigging.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say like the first 5 years I didn't really get paid. I couldn't live on it. Now I can live on it. Do you know what I mean? But like for the first 5 years, I remember like one gig, because I started in New York. One gig I got paid in tea bags, and I was very happy. I remember at the end of the gig, they were like, "You can take as much tea as you want," and I was like, "Oh, there's tea for me."
That's so British of you.
I know. And maybe that's why they offered it to me, actually, because it's a gig in New York. But yeah, you gotta be in order to get good, you have to be shit. I don't know if I can swear on here.
No, you can swear as much as you like.
Fucking great. So in order to be good at stand-up, you kind of got to make peace with being shit for a while. And I think especially today, where everything's like carved out in a way that should be instantly gratifying, like it's owed to you.
Yeah.
I feel really privileged to be able to have like been able to hone a craft like stand-up.
Yeah, and I'm interested to know how like the comedy scene has changed over like the 13 years you've spent in it, because when I was reading Good Material, I realized, because he was talking about how jealous he was that all the comedians that he knew were getting loads of followers on social media, and obviously you post a lot of your bits from stand-up on social media as well, and I'm really curious to know how you view like social media's role within like the comedy space, because I can imagine a lot of comedians of like older generations being like, all these TikToks, all these reels.
Yeah. There's definitely that culture. There's definitely that culture, and it's funny because I don't do my social media.
Oh,
so
really?
No. I mean, I've got access to my Instagram, but I don't post those videos.
Okay.
I pay someone to do it for me, because I wouldn't. I'm not of that generation, so I wouldn't. And also, I think because I used to model in my 20s, I kind of like really had that scratch itched that itch scratched from a young age of like seeing myself. I was probably the last lot of models to have a full modelling career where we didn't have to post. It didn't matter about our personality, and it didn't matter how many followers we had. We were still quite blank canvases and encouraged not to speak, ideally. And so I think that kind of like posting pictures of myself and stuff, it always kind of made me a bit uncomfortable anyway.
Yeah.
But I also, it's sort of like, don't make it sound like because I was being humble or anything, but like I got to see myself in big posters all over the city and stuff like that. So I got sick of it, babes. I got sick of it. I was over it. And so, yeah, I actually have never been great at posting on Instagram stuff, but I do have to be, because I've got this bloody show coming out soon, so you'll see me. But I'm just walking down the road, guys. Yeah, anyway, I'm just going shop. I'm just going to try out this new mascara. It's really good. So ignore me, because it's coming.
I'll be double tapping and commenting.
You fucking better. You fucking, thank you. That's what I need. The kids, the youth. But yeah, I have someone who does it for me. And weirdly, so now I've got an Instagram following, and a TikTok following, but I'd done Live at the Apollo before I'd got an Instagram person, and I'd done like a few TV shows, like I'd done like Catherine Ryan's The Netflix, and then I booked the lead as an HBO show called The Baby and a Sky show, and I didn't have that many followers at all. And then this amazing guy called Sam Piccone started doing my Instagram for me, and then it just kind of blew up because I had all these clips. I'd had all this stand-up that I had never posted before, and he just posted it in such a great way, like short little clips with the captions, and it
reinvigorates it.
It just started doing really well. But there is definitely a disconnect with certain generations of comics.
Yeah, because I can imagine there's like this element of, like, again, as we spoke about, you did like 5 years of not being paid. I guess it's all, people almost see it as, I guess, a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So when you see really young people, you know, going on TikTok and really succeeding, I can imagine people that have put like 10 years of work into it feel a little bit like,
salty.
Well, what the hell?
Fucking salty.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting in Edinburgh when you have the Fringe that there's people that will go up, younger comics will go up, and no one knows who they are, but they have a huge TikTok following or a huge Instagram following, just a massive online following, and they will. That is kind of a bit of a test, because sometimes what translates
on the internet is so different.
It's not going to work in live with a live audience, but sometimes it does, and it really fucks off like certain comics.
Really?
Yeah, man, they'll just be like, who the fuck are they?
I find it so interesting.
There's a few people that I've seen that I'm like, oh my God, who is that person? And then I've seen them live, and they are so well engaged with their audience that they can do a live show, and they are like light years ahead of what any of us were at that time in stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of comics that I've seen where I'm like, holy shit, it took me a decade to get that good, and you're that good in like a year. And then there's some people that have got like millions of followers, and you're like, fucking hell, you've gone up and you've tanked, because it's very different in front of a live audience.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I think there's definitely like, I feel like as a young person, I sort of have a tendency to be like, when I think of like older generations of comedians being salty about social media, I'm like, oh, give it a rest. Like, they're only utilizing the tools that they have, and they should be completely in their right. But also on the other hand, as someone who, like, on social media, I am on a little bit more of a niche platform. Not that like YouTube is a popular platform, but it's pretty niche to be like, oh, I make YouTube videos, because so many people have moved to TikTok and things like that. That when I see, and I'm saying this in a safe space on my podcast, guys, when I see TikTokers just being handed podcasts, like by production companies, having everything sorted for them.
That's it.
You see this? Yeah.
That's it.
And it's like, and I'm trying to work through it, because I remember I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and he's like, they're just taking an opportunity that's been given to them.
Well, the thing is as well, is that, like, not to sound, but you're you. But I really think that you make space for whatever someone else is doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's fucking cool. I was doing stuff when I was young that, like, you'll never have the opportunity to do. Also, you know what I had the advantage of in stand-up is I was able to try out material and see if it worked or not, and really find what my voice was. I said things early on in my career before I understood the difference between shock value and laughter and getting people's attention and making them think that I would never say now. Ever say now. Not in a million years. And there are young people that are starting out in stand-up that will never have that opportunity to make mistakes in a safe space without being recorded and without having to be accountable for it. And there's a lot to be said for what that can do for your career and just like you as a person, and like what your voice will end up being. Like, not like I had the freedom to try stuff out, and like, the jokes were shit, but like, no one was going to see it anyway. Like, only these 4 people in this club, or these 50 people in this club at best, right? Not like, oh, there's someone recording it. Or even worse still, I'm recording it and I'm going to try and put it online and see if people like it or not. Like, so true. It does come in swings and roundabouts for sure. So like, you know, you got to, you say that you have like a niche audience, but like, you've had the opportunity to build that audience. You've got probably a new generation of TikTokers that are just throwing anything against the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah.
And then people jump onto, oh, we really like that little thing, and like your followers went up by like a couple of thousand. You're like, I'm gonna keep on doing more of that, and then you run out of steam because
it's
you ain't really got
tough.
shit to say about that.
Yeah, like one thing I will say is that I'm never one to be like doing TikTok seems so easy, because if it was, I would be doing it. Like that's what I say to people all the time. Is a lot of like, you know, friends of parents and things like that talk about how easy my job is. And look, don't get me wrong. The way that Jack describes it is he says, it's not hard work, but we do work hard kind of thing. It's not like as strenuous as when I worked in a coffee shop or when I was a beautician or anything like that, working long hours for really crap pay. I'm compensated extremely fairly. But
things are mentally taxing in different ways, man. Like, I can say, hand on my heart, and I left school without doing any GCSEs really early. I worked in all different kinds of jobs. I worked on market stalls. I worked in shops. I worked in pubs. I pulled many pints. I worked in nightclubs. And then I started modelling. And then after modelling, I used to, you know, do journalism for Vice in their glory years and like Vice America, and travel around the world interviewing different people for different things. One of the fucking hardest jobs I ever did was Fashion Week. Like,
really?
That is fucking taxing. Not because I didn't have the best personality for something like that. I don't like being touched. I don't like being prodded. I don't like people talking to me like I'm thick. Like, I found that really emotionally draining and hard. It depends also what your personality type is. And then also, you know, whatever you start off as, you know, people are like, if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Bullshit.
Oh, it's such
bullshit.
bollocks.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
Anything that you have to do after a while is work.
Yeah, it's like you just have to find your one or two people who you can complain to about it.
You know what? I've been writing a piece for a magazine at the moment, and I've been saying exactly that. Like, there's certain jobs where, like, especially if you become successful, you can only really complain to other people that not even work in your field are as successful as you or more. Otherwise, your complaints, you're not making any friends.
The resentment builds, the bitterness builds. Like I complain to when I'm complaining about my job. First of all, I feel like it's like influencer 101. Never complain about your job on the internet. Ever. Never, ever.
No.
Because it's just like time and place. And I complain, not always, but when I do have like complaints, I'll moan about it to my boyfriend. I
bet he loves that. I bet it's like, you know, keep on telling me about how your job with flexible hours is just getting too much.
No, literally. Like one thing, like this is how I know that my boyfriend loves me, because like he's a teaching assistant. He works with kids who have like extra needs and stuff. He does like hard work. He just works really, really hard, and he doesn't get compensated super fairly for his hard work.
Get it? We love him. He's doing the Lord's work.
Raising children, pretty much. Sorry, I love my boyfriend. And I'll be like, Skillshare didn't approve my concept. And then when I sort of see him being like, yeah, that is annoying, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to text Jack about this. Because he really gets it.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes you have to know your audience, so to speak, right?
Know your audience. And another thing that I'm really nosy about with stand-up is because you're in it. You're in the thick of it, you know. I'd love to know what your take is on my sort of pet peeve when it comes to comedians. I love how I'm saying comedians of a certain generation, which really makes me laugh. But comedians of a specific generation is this whole sort of, you can't say anything these days. Did I offend you?
Okay, you know what? That isn't actually of a certain generation. That is comedians across the board. Because because you also have a lot of younger. I don't think it's specific to age, because there's some people that have really capitalized on leaning in to something that they think's controversial, whether they truly believe in the sentiment of what they're saying or not. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because, like we were just speaking about before, they've noticed that they get a bit more engagement if they say things that, particularly like inflammatory or whatever, right? So I personally what people speak about as cancel culture. I'm yet to see really anyone get cancelled. What is...
Yeah, so to sort of wrap up, my camera cut off and I seriously need to get assistance to keep track of this. So my sort of opinion is that most of the discourse around cancel culture is just talking about cancel culture. It's not actually the act of what people believe it is.
No. There is no act.
Yeah.
No one gets cancelled.
Yeah.
Us talking about cancel culture, that's cancel culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And what you'll find is the comics, I guess, that are at the top of the pyramid that speak about cancel culture the most benefit from it the most. They are winning Emmys. They are winning awards.
Yeah.
They are revered and they are selling out concerts and, arenas. And so, yeah, I think it's a thing to get us all chatting, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone get cancelled.
No, me neither. I also hate when people use the word woke. Well, it feels so offensive when people use it.
The thing is there isn't an agreement of what the word means. Mm-hmm. What is what? Oh, all that woke stuff. What do you think woke means? Anytime I ask someone or I ask another comic, but this isn't even touching on the origin of the word, right? Mm-hmm. And where it started, but just like, what do you think woke means? Mm-hmm. No one has a straight answer. Mm-hmm. Pun intended, I guess. But like, no one has a. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, I just think it's all bullshit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish people were more thoughtful about what they said on stage, but actually, as in like, in terms of punching down. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because unfortunately, a lot of the time, I've seen a lot of comics that sort of like have lent into the right as an identity because they're like, oh, if I'm, it's easy for you, Michelle. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're brown and you're bi and you're a woman and I'm like, what? How is it easier for me?
Yeah.
What do you think that helps at the moment? Like, and also, I think with comedy, it's such an amazing equalizer, right? That's why I love it as an art form. There's not a little plaque next to the painting that you can read, and then you're like, oh, I get it now. Mm-hmm. Laughter is just so instant. You either laugh or you don't. I do believe that people should be able to say whatever they want on stage. As a comedian, it's important. Mm-hmm. But I do think that we can say whatever we want on stage, so we should think about it a little bit. Yeah. Is my opinion. But it's just my opinion, and like ourselves, everybody has one, so whatever. But yeah, the whole talk about cancel culture, I'm like, the people that have been saying some of the most heinous shit on stage and in their sets are doing extremely well.
Got Netflix specials.
Many.
Yeah, many.
Yeah. So it's like,
what are you even talking about?
Can everyone just have a seat, innit?
Yeah,
like, fucking relax. And has it affected my career? No. But I wasn't making fun of disabled people or trans people or anyway. Mm-hmm. So no, it hasn't affected my career. Yeah. I wasn't using those topics as bits. Yeah. What?
Literally, it speaks for itself.
Do you know what I mean?
Massively, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's all. I'm sort of. I'm a little bit.
You're side-eyeing.
Well, I'm like, whatever. Shut up. Yeah. Anytime I hear comics talk about it, I'm just like, you know what you could do? Just write jokes. Just write some jokes.
So true. Redistribute the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, well, Michelle has to go now, so we're going to wrap it up.
I got to go. I got a Botox appointment at 3:00. I literally came and I was like, we can talk for an hour and a bit.
Then I have to go.
But I've got to go and get Botox. Look at all this movement in my forehead. It's outrageous. I'm actually sad and I can show it. I'm like, what is this? I've been filming and you can't, you want to be able to move your face when you're filming, but now I'm not. I'm like...
You're ready for a top up.
It's time, man. It's fucking time.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Michelle.
You're so welcome. I'm such a big fan and like I love what you do, and I literally asked to be on this show. I think in the comments on one of your Instagram posts, I was like, if any time you need a guest, because I really am. I love what you do. It was such a joy to come across one of your essays and then watch many more after. So just good luck with everything and keep up the good work.
I will link all of Michelle's stuff all in the description.
Yeah. You can I just say you bring charisma. What did you say?
I bring charisma to rooms where there's no charisma.
You bring charisma to every room you enter.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you soon for another episode. Bye.